Hi everybody, and welcome to today's webinar, 7 New Tricks to Getting More Clicks, the secrets behind better PPC ads. My name is Michelle, and I'm just here to get things started before I pass things off to today's presenter. So, for those of you who are not familiar with WordStream, we're a search marketing software provider. We've got some free tools like our AdWords Performance Grader, and also our paid software platform that can very easily help you grow your AdWords, Bing, and your Facebook marketing efforts. So we'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of the presentation, but that's just who we are, and that's why we're here delivering this webinar today. And next up, for just a couple of logistics about today's presentation. We are going to be recording this webinar, so if you have to hop off at any point or you're having trouble keeping up, you can always shoot me a question in our chat box, but don't worry because you will be getting an email within 48 hours with the recording and the slide deck, so you can definitely share this content along. Also, we invite you to be social, so you can join in on Twitter. You have Mark's handle right there, so definitely tweet at him and he will be happy to answer any questions or just feedback from the presentation. Finally, my favorite part, question and answers. We will definitely save time for that, so be sure to submit those along the way right there in the GoToWebinar box, and we will definitely make sure that Mark can get to those. Okay, and now this is actually my real favorite part of every webinar, and that is getting to introduce my good friend Mark. Mark is a senior data scientist at WordStream. He's had more than 5 years of experience in paid search, and super exciting, he has just been voted the 5th most influential PPC expert of 2017, which is absolutely huge. Mad kudos to Mark on that. He jumped up a lot in the last year, and we are so stoked to have someone so influential on our WordStream team. Okay, so that about does it for Mark's intro, and with that, I'm going to pass it off to him.
Michelle, like that's why I do it, is for the intro right there. But no, thank you, Michelle, and thank everyone for attending the webinar today. I've got a lot of obviously I've got 7 new tricks for getting clicks on your paid search ads. So I wanted to talk about just where we've been and how we've gotten here and what's going on in the paid search world and exactly where people are excelling. And so obviously, if you've been doing paid search for a long time or even just a year, you might remember standard text ads. And standard text ads were, what I started doing in paid search when I started in paid search 5 years ago. And they had that very small 25-character headline, 70 characters of description text. It really was limiting in terms of what you could and couldn't write in your ads. And so people were very, that's always been the #1 feedback of writing paid search ads. It's like, I can't write a whole lot, 90 characters of text. What am I going to do? So in the past year, Google has introduced these expanded text ads. And expanded text ads, obviously, they're larger. They have more characters. They have a second headline. They have additional display URL paths. They're about 47% larger than the old ads. They're got closer to 140 characters. So they're more the size of a tweet or a paid social ad, which we'll talk about in a bit. But there was a whole lot that we were excited about using these, and people were expecting that these expanded text ads would really save their accounts in terms of getting more clicks and hopefully getting more conversions through their paid search efforts. And we saw that. We saw that on average, across the past year, and I look at this data every single month, and this data every single month continues to tell the same story, that advertisers see an average click-through rate boost between 15 and 20% when transitioning from Google's standard text ads to their expanded text ads. And 15 to 20%, that's most certainly not a dismissible amount in terms of a click-through rate boost. I'd happily take 15% more traffic to my site, but it's certainly not, a silver bullet in itself. On Bing, Bing made the same transition. In fact, Bing is retiring its standard text ads at the end of this month. But Bing's expanded text ads will actually see a higher click-through rate gain than what you see on Google. That whereas people on Google saw a 15 to 20% increase in click-through rates, Bing saw an additional 20% on top of that 15 to 20%. So this is like a fairly easy way to get a little bit more of your Bing campaigns as well. And so knowing the fact that these ads are bigger, that they typically see increased click-through rate gains, a lot of people were quick to adopt them. Here we are. Actually, today, what is today's date? It's the 25th of July. July 28th, 2016 was the day that Google released the expanded text ads to all advertisers. So we're just under a year from this new ad format being released now. We're basically looking at the year anniversary of this. And we see that most advertisers are familiar with this. Most advertisers understand the value prop of this. 95% of small, medium business advertisers, which are typically the least active advertisers, have at least one active ETA in their account. And this is where I'm drawing this data from, that a lot of these, these 95% of advertisers, when they made this switch, they saw an average click-through rate boost between 15 and 20%. There is obviously still 5% that's lagging behind, and some people are still in process of transitioning here. But that's not the full story behind it. We know that advertisers saw an average click-through rate boost of 15 to 20%, but averages have a tendency to lie, or they have a tendency to obscure some of that data. And we know that when we say average, or when we talk about a median click-through rate boost gain, that half of people are going to be beneath that 15 to 20%. And in fact, what we see when we look at the individual numbers, or the distribution of everyone who's made this transition, we see that 1 out of 3 English-speaking advertisers actually will struggle and will see a decreased click-through rate gain after transitioning to these expanded text ads. So that's obviously problematic. There's a whole lot of reason in terms of why people are struggling using these new ad formats. It's a whole new world, and when you see 1 out of 3 people struggling with it, it is problematic. There's got to be a reason behind it. And so that gets me to our first point today. Where are people struggling? Well, unfortunately, when you look at this, there's no way around this, and the #1 tip that I have to give is that the fastest way to writing better ads is going to be to write more ads. It's very interesting when you look at how people chose, or how people are choosing still, to transition to ETAs. Absolutely, when I first introduced this to my team and when we started game planning for how we were going to get all of our standard text ads rewritten to expanded text ads, that itself was the goal. It was just to get all of our ad groups to have expanded text ads and to get all of our accounts to have expanded text ads. And that's kind of how a lot of advertisers have been pushing it internally and with their clients. But unfortunately, that mentality, that gotta get it done before the deadline mentality, has put us in a little bit of an awkward position. Most advertisers, about 40% or 45% of advertisers, when they are testing ETAs in their accounts, they're only testing 1 ETA in each ad group. That a much smaller percent are testing the 3 or 4 ads per ad group that you would have expected them to continue to have done had they've used standard text ads. That's been a best practice for years, using standard text ads. But during the migration to ETAs, a lot of advertisers are falling short on making sure that they're doing ad tests with ETAs. So we're seeing that a lot of people who are trying to make this migration are exclusively making this migration by getting 1 ad, 1 expanded text ad in each ad group, whereas it needs to continue to be a focus that you're testing multiple ETAs. And when we look at the performance data, when we look at ad groups that have 1 ETA in them, they're only running that 1 ad versus ad groups that are testing multiple ads, we see the fact that just by testing multiple ads is oftentimes enough to be successful in itself. That ad groups that are actively testing multiple ETAs have a 21% higher click-through rate. So it was a best practice. It was a big harping best practice for years that you should have multiple ads in each ad group. And that seemed to have fallen off as a best practice, or it's fallen out of mind for a lot of advertisers as they made this transition to ETAs. We really need to get back on it and aim to get at least 3 ETAs in each ad group so that we can test different messages against each other and really continue to improve this. We see that like the group that just has 1 ETA in each ad group, those are the people who are struggling the most. And consequently, those are most likely the people who are seeing click-through rate decreases when they transition to ETAs from the standard text ads. That a lot of people may have previously been running multiple standard text ads, and then they launch a single ETA in their account, and then they're a little disappointed with the performance of that 1 ETA in that ad group. But really, it comes down to the fact that you need to continue to do ad testing here. Larry Kim always used to say that in order to find a unicorn, in order to find the best 1% of ads, you would need to test 100 individual ads to find that one best ad. Here, I'm not asking you to necessarily test 100, but I am asking you to test a minimum of 2 or 3 ETAs per ad group to make sure that you're continuing your ad copy tests. And although that sounds very simple, I know that that's not something that a lot of advertisers or a lot of agencies are doing with their clients, not as much as we would like them to. And obviously, as you write new ads, you're going to find yourself in this position, particularly if you're talking about doubling or tripling the number of ads that exist in your ad groups today. That's a lot of ad testing, a lot of times that you'd have to go and manually make sure that you're showing the right ad for each search term, or make sure that you're showing the best ad to mobile versus tablet versus your remarketing audiences versus your geo audiences versus time of day. There's a lot of variables that go into ad testing, particularly when you talk about multivariate ad testing. So Google does allow you to optimize your ad rotation settings. It's highly recommended that you use those optimization settings either to optimize for click distribution or for conversions. And that we see, just looking at 419 accounts that made this transition from a rotate evenly or a rotate indefinitely setting in the last quarter to now their performance in Q3, that those 419 accounts, that when they made this transition, they saw an average increase of their click-through rate by 8% and an 11% increase in their conversion rate. And this is, fairly great that once you set this, once you create those ads, you don't necessarily need to create brand new ads for every single audience or for every single demographic, that this does not become a never-ending quest for ads necessarily, that you can allow Google to optimize your ad rotation for you while you can continue to ad test manually. That second tip for today is we're going to talk about using some new extensions and ad types. So obviously ETAs were the big deal. They were the big deal of 2016. And as we continue to ramp up and as we continue to test more ETAs, ETAs aren't going away. They're only going to become more prominent and hopefully more active in all of your accounts. But there's obviously a whole lot that's being introduced now as well. Promotion extensions. You'll find them exclusively in the new AdWords UI. So right now, I believe about a quarter of all advertisers have access to the new UI. Get comfortable using it. Obviously, there's a button in it to send feedback back to Google. You want to make sure that this is a system, an interface that you get comfortable with, because a lot of the new things that are going to be coming out in AdWords are going to be launched in this rather than the old UI that they're used to. And that includes promotion extensions. And promotion extensions, since the dawn of paid search, actually since the dawn of marketing, to be honest, we've relied on sales and discounts and promotions in all of our ads to really drive home when we have a sale or when we're trying to get more people interested in our product or service. And promotion extensions allow you to append that sale when it's running onto all of your paid search ads. So this used to be a game where if I want to promote a sale in my paid search ads, I would have to write brand new ads all across my account to include that offer code or to promote that sale or that % off or that dollar value off. Here, I don't need to go in and I don't need to schedule separate ads to run for all of this. I can just append a promotion extension onto my existing ads, and then Google will show that promotion extension with the sale information or with the code or with any kind of additional information that's relevant about that sale onto my ads. And this will show across mobile, desktop, and tablet. So it will show on all my devices. It's really powerful stuff. Obviously, we know that including a sale or a promotion in your ad copy is successful, but we actually see that including it as an extension where it gets its own spot on the SERP and it doesn't take away from any of the copy that we would traditionally include in our text ads has potential to drive our click-through rate up more than twice what the average click-through rate is for those ads. So we see that, site links, they're an effective way to increase click-through rate. Price extensions, fairly new, also great at increasing our click-through rate. But promotion extensions, by far, the most effective clickable extension that we've seen honestly, in probably 5 years these days, in terms of driving new clicks. Running an average click-through rate across about 20 or 30 accounts near 10%. And so 10% click-through rate, I really can't argue with that any day of the week. So promotion extensions, this is going to be particularly powerful as more people get access to the new AdWords UI. So keep an eye open for that. It lives under the Ads and Ads Extensions tab within the new UI. And once you have access to the new UI, you're free to create them in there. Make sure that as you're thinking about your back to school and your holiday promotions, that you really think about including promotion extensions to highlight this across your account. And our third trick for today is another new ad format. And so shopping showcase ads. These kind of go hand in hand with your promotion extension. These are probably going to be really important for a lot of e-commerce clients, particularly if you're already using a shopping campaign. And so if you look at a shopping showcase ad, you might originally mistake it for your traditional shopping ad. But today, or last week, Google silently, they didn't announce this, we just have this new ad format in which advertisers who are using shopping campaigns can highlight a catalog of their products for more purchases. They see a catalog, they see a number of brands serving lots of ads for summer dress collections. And when they click on this ad, that ad expands, and you see this small landing page, including a catalog of those individual summer dresses. So that's a very oriented search that you might not want to traditionally show for all of your shopping campaigns. Clicking on your catalog, you're only charged when someone clicks on your catalog and then after viewing your catalog of products, chooses to click on an individual, that you're charged for that click, and then they're just featuring that product. People who are way at the very top of the funnel, who are searching for things like summer dresses or things like new laptops, kind of up to the funnel search to in your search ads or in your shopping ads today, and very inexpensively pre-qualify them with some before they get to your site. So it's an initiative from your initial shopping campaigns, because your shopping campaigns are going to show up a whole lot more when someone is searching for specific product-specific searches. These are going to get you broader non-brand searches. And there's a lot more of those non-brand searches around new laptops or summer dresses or college supplies. It's a fairly risk-free way to get yourself in front of those people. And so number 4, not writing our ads for individual keywords, but to begin thinking about writing ads for humans. And so this is an old habit that we're trying to break here at WordStream. That when you think about, obviously, I've been doing this for 5 years now. When I started writing paid search ads back in the early 2000s, It was effectively the digital Stone Age. That if you were to do a Google search, if you were to go to google.com on your desktop browser, and you would type in a very simple search term like car insurance, and effectively you would be searching for that keyword, and an ad would be good for you the early days of paid search if that ad included that keyword in it. So if I were to do a search for car insurance, I would go through here and I would see, okay, here I got 2 ads that talk about car insurance. Those are fairly good ads, and those were my expectations when I first started doing paid search. Those were most people's first expectations when they first started doing paid search. But we see that that's not how people search anymore. We see that our search has evolved a whole lot over the past decade. That here, back in 2008, it was fairly common to have these small search terms, things like car insurance, those short-tailed search terms, and then you would have a very small share of people who were doing long-tailed searches for things of 3 or 4 or 5 word searches. But over the past decade, that's become more normal. In fact, now it is the norm. 2/3 of searches that happened today in 2013, sorry, it's not 2013, 2017, 2/3 of searches that happen today are going to be 3 or more words long. That there's going to be more long-term searches this year than there ever were in the past. And we need to really think about that when we're writing our ad copy, because people aren't searching for the word car insurance anymore. They're searching for more specific things, and they're expecting more specific answers. So today, people are more likely to search for discount car insurance rates, or for family multi-car insurance, or for compare car insurance and the zip code, or a town, or a city. That these are kind of more natural ways that we engage with the SERP today, and we need to make sure that our ads are answering the questions that people are searching for. Not only that, but we're searching more frequently across multiple devices to complete the same task. So whereas back in the early 2000s, it may really be a situation where, that's actually why Geico was so effective. Geico was one of the first places you could go online, get a car insurance quote, and then convert after doing that one search. Today, you're not seeing that as much. You're seeing that it's fairly common for people to make 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 searches before ultimately arriving at your site and making that purchase or giving your contact information or converting on your site. We need to begin to think about the fact that individual searches, that first ad that they see isn't necessarily going to be the last ad that they see either. That we need to be thinking about them, how we help them through finding that answer and how we help them find that answer to be us through their multiple searches. And finally, and maybe most importantly, is we're increasingly searching more conversationally. And when we're searching more conversationally, we're using much more natural language. And so one of the fastest rising trends in paid search today, a conversation I was not having even 2 or 3 years ago, is about voice search. Today, back in April, I believe, Google made an announcement that 20% of all their searches occur today via voice search rather than a typed query. And that population, that 20% share, obviously 20% is a large part of the search market as a whole, but it's growing so quickly that a lot of people, including ComScore, believe that by 2020, more than half of all searches will be driven by voice search rather than a typed query. And so that's an important difference to know, because of course, when I'm typing in a search, I might be more likely to type in a keyword. But when I'm using voice search, I'm going to have a more natural question about me. So it is no longer a situation where users are searching for keywords. Users are searching for answers to their questions. And we need to make sure that the language in our ad is answering those questions that people are having. So over the past couple of years, our search has evolved a lot. Once upon a time, we would expect people to search for keywords and our ads to be filled with keywords in them, and our websites to be stuffed with keywords. But over the past decade, as SEO updates have occurred, and as more people manually write landing pages for natural language searchers, people who want to provide additional information on their landing page rather than just keyword stuff, we see that people have more natural language on their landing pages. And as we continue to evolve with our search, more people are using natural language, either via voice search or just because that's how we type more naturally now. We're using natural language in our searches. But we're running into this paradigm where our ads are still stuck in the middle. They're still effectively the same ads we've been running since the beginning of time, that they're stuffed with a whole bunch of keywords in it. And that's beginning to create some drag for us. Particularly when we look at the most common words in the English language, we see that the words that people are searching on, the words that people include on their landing pages, are more common words. They're the words the, be, to, of, and. These are articles, they're verbs, they're prepositions, they're conjunctions, they're pronouns. But instead, when you look at the most common words in our paid search ads, nearly all of our paid search ads focus on keywords, nearly all of which are nouns. And so when you have a whole bunch of nouns in your ad, it creates a very dense, very heavy ad here. And people don't relate that well back to their search terms in a more natural language, and Google doesn't relate those ads back to your ads in a more into your landing pages, which are written in a more natural language. So obviously, I understand why people are doing this. We know that keyword relevance is a factor in quality score, and so that's why people include keywords in their quality score. But we also know that it's the least important factor in keyword quality score. That if we were to instead focus on connecting our landing page experience to our ads, using the same language we use in our landing page in our ads, as well as improving our expected ad click-through rate, using the same words people are using to search in our ads, we would be able to move quality score 4 times faster than if we were just focused on the keywords within our account. And so really, absolutely continue to use keywords in your ads, but make sure that you're selling your keywords, you're selling your product here, you're not just keyword stuffing. The keywords don't sell your product. That this ad, I don't even need to tell you which keyword I searched for this airport taxi services ad, but here we've got that airport taxi keyword stuffed into this ad a total of 4 times. Adding it in a 5th time does not make this one a better ad. Instead, if we were to try and think of what's valuable to the customer, why someone is searching for an airport taxi, and relating, yes, this is an airport taxi, but focusing on the value we provide to our customers instead of the keywords. So recently did this with a client of ours. They're an auto mechanic, and they were running this ad for engine misfires. Engine running rough, get that misfire diagnosed. Full tune-ups, meeting manufacturer specifications available, ASC certified. There's a lot of nouns in that, and it's really just talking about that misfire, that engine misfire getting diagnosed. It's important, absolutely. It speaks to the search, but it doesn't speak to the user itself. It was doing fairly abysmally on the SERP at a click-through rate of 0.25%. We rewrote this ad to focus on the value that it provides our customers. Love the car, need an engine. We can replace the motor. And so now we're focusing on the value, the service that we're providing our customers. Doing so increased the click-through rate nearly 20-fold to 4.87%. So really, as you're thinking about writing new ads, don't get bogged down in exactly the closest semantic match to your keywords. Think about what motivates your customers and try and drive that home to them in their ad copy. And as you're thinking about this, my 5th tip is to optimize your ads for different audiences. And so we know a lot about the things, who is searching for our products and who is buying our products on our site and who is even visiting our site. But there's a lot of great techniques in order to be better about that. And you might find yourself using past visitors in a traditional Google Display Network remarketing campaign. Remarketing is a fantastic way to get people back to your site, of course, that you can use the people who have visited your site knowing the fact that they've either been to your site in the past or that they've looked at a specific product a couple of times before, or maybe they've even purchased from you in the past. Reaching this audience on the display network has always been a very effective way of driving existing customers back to your site. But what people aren't necessarily thinking about is they're not thinking about applying the same kind of remarketing audiences to their search campaigns or to their shopping campaigns. And that's a fairly easy thing to do with your ads. That if you were just to take an existing audience that you're using for your remarketing campaigns and apply it as a remarketing list for search ads or a remarketing list for shopping ads, you can very easily change your ad copy for these audiences, but also these audiences are appreciably more likely to click on your site. That on average, we see a 3 times increase in terms of re-engaging with past buyers or shopping cart abandoners on the Google SERP or the Google Shopping Network, very similarly to the performance increases we see on the display network. So you can use these existing remarketing audiences that you likely have for your Facebook campaigns or for your display campaigns and use it on the Google search, the Bing search, or the Google Shopping Network as well, and really get a lot out of this existing audience that you've already created. Not only is this a great way to drive more of these clicks to your site, but we actually see it's also a great way to drive more conversions. That as you'd expect, people who have been to your site and are coming back for a second time are twice as likely to convert on your site from shopping, and are similarly about 40% more likely to convert on your site from a search. But even more valuable audiences, things like shopping cart abandoners or past buyers, have a lot of benefit towards trying to reach out to those people separately using remarketing lists for search ads or remarketing lists for shopping ads to get them to convert on your site here. So that we can really think about not just getting new customers, but selling more to our existing customers as well. This is a very easy approach that we can just apply within our existing search and shopping campaigns, or creating them as their own separate RLSA campaigns. And so as you're thinking about your audience, also begin to think about different demographics. We know a lot about how people, what our target audience looks like and what our target demographic looks like. But what a lot of us aren't using, probably what I see people underusing the most in AdWords these days, is their new demographic targeting that's available within search campaigns. And so this is fairly new on the Google search side, but we also have demographic targeting available for the display network, it's available for Bing ads, and it's available across nearly all of our social networks. And if I were to make a wager, I'd probably say that demographic targeting is the biggest area of growth that Google is going to push into people's accounts in the next year or so. That for the past couple of months, we've only been able to cater ads for men and women, for gender, for age ranges. But as of the launch of the new UI, we actually already are seeing new demographics being launched. That now you can cater your ads for household income or for parental status right within your search campaigns as well. So there's a lot of stuff that's coming out of our demographic targeting options as well, and we can use all this information on a user's demographics to really cater our ads differently for those demographics. So previously, back in February for Valentine's Day, I had this florist who was running this ad special Valentine's Day gifts, 100% smile guaranteed. Spend $100 and get a free box of chocolates to sweeten up his or her day. And admittedly, it's a fairly good ad. But that last little bit, that sweeten up his or her day, kind of struck me a little funny when I was writing it. That seems kind of intentionally impersonal or unassuming, that you don't know who they're going to be buying this product for. So what we decided to do is we decided to run this ad in 2 separate ad groups. And in each ad group, we only targeted one demographic. One ad group showed ads exclusively to men. Another ad group showed ads exclusively to women. And we just made a small change to this ad. The ad shown to men read, find the perfect gift for her, get a free box of chocolates to sweeten up her day. And to women, we started the exact same ad, but we just changed out the gender pronoun. Find the perfect gift for him, sweeten up his day. The original ad performed fairly well. It had a click-through rate of 7.3%, a conversion rate of 1.8%. But what we saw when we were showing very gender-specific pronouns, and when we were serving different ads to these audiences, we were able to increase our click-through rate to 11.6% for men and 9.25% for women. All said and done, that's an increase of 30 to 60% in click-through rate by changing a single word. And not only were we able to increase our click-through rate, we were able to more than double our conversion rate for both of these audiences, just by changing that one word toward the demographics that we were trying to reach out there. So be sure to, as Google releases even more demographic targeting options over the next year, make sure that you're really thinking about these demographics as you're writing your ad copy, because this is probably the single most powerful way to drive meaningful changes in your click-through rate, as well as possibly your conversion rates. Try new offers for different demographics, be they male or female, be they young or be they old, be them affluent or less affluent. And finally, number 7 today, we want to talk about optimizing our ads for mobile. Obviously, particularly this growth in voice search, we're seeing that mobile is becoming an increasingly larger deal when we start talking about search. 2016 was the year in which not only did mobile overtake desktop as the most searched device, or the device that drives the most searches, but also it is now making up more than 50% of all searches and of all ad impressions. And so it's really important, if you're not currently on mobile, or if you're not thinking about mobile as its own entity effectively, if you don't have your own mobile strategy, you are going to fall behind here, because desktop and tablet searches combined are decreasing, while mobile searches are becoming increasingly more common. This isn't a position where you can continue to ignore mobile and still ride off of desktop and tablet. You're going to find yourself losing impressions. You're going to find yourself year over year continue to decline. We do need to look at mobile traffic here. And so as we write ads for mobile, we have one powerful option available to us. We can cater our ads to mobile searchers by using if functions. This is fairly new on Google, but effectively we're just going to create a parameter using the if function. And I understand that no one, arrived in marketing with the intention that they really want to do a lot of coding or learn exactly how to write with parameters. But I promise this is a fairly simple thing to do. Effectively, what you're going to do is when we write in a parameter, particularly when we write in this if statement, we're just saying that, okay, Google, if this device is a mobile device, I want you to show this ad a little bit differently. And so consequently, this ad will load differently on different devices. What Google's going to do is it's going to read this if device equals mobile, and it will insert that word after the comma into the ad itself. So here, if that device is mobile, then include the word tap here. And after the colon, we're going to tell Google what to put in that ad if it is not mobile. So if it's a desktop ad or a tablet ad, in which case it will read that word click in the ad. And the ad itself is still going to render very easily to read to the end user. But by using this light coding, by using this parameter in our ad, we have the ability to do a lot of sophisticated things and change out our call to action or change out our offer within our ad text. So think about this, particularly if you're, let's say, a B2B company. There's a lot of things that you can do on a desktop computer that you can't necessarily ask someone on a mobile device to do. My call to action for desktop can absolutely be download a free trial or download a white paper or something like that. But on mobile, I'm not going to be able to download a white paper. I'm not going to be able to necessarily download a free trial. So maybe I need to think about coming up with a different call to action. Maybe for my mobile searchers to click to call or to sign up for a newsletter or some kind of other way for them to convert on my site that isn't necessarily the same that I'm doing with my desktop searchers. So guys, obviously that was a lot of information quickly. Just wanted to have a quick recap before some Q&A. The things we covered today. The number one thing is to write multiple ETAs. That ad copy testing doesn't get better unless you actually start writing multiple ETAs. You can use your ad rotation to make these optimizations for you. Look at supplementing your ads with new promotion extensions, as well as try and begin to use Google's new shopping showcase ads within your shopping campaigns to drive additional clicks. Think about your audience when you're writing your ads and focus on exactly what your customer needs. Your customers aren't searching for keywords anymore. They're searching with problems and they're searching for solutions to those problems. Provide those solutions and they're more likely to click on your ad. The 5 and 6, consider different ads for remarketing lists, for search audiences or for shopping audiences, as well as for different demographics. Knowing the difference between male searchers or female searchers or young searchers or old searchers or parents or not parents, or your affluent searchers versus your less affluent searchers. And finally, revisit your new ETAs and include if statements for mobile ad copy. We know that mobile is becoming increasingly important, so we need to make sure that we're speaking to the mobile searcher slightly different than our desktop searcher, so that they can both find the call to action that's appropriate for them and also convert easier on our sites. Guys, that's been a lot of fun. I'm excited for some Q&A, but before that, I believe, Michelle, you had a special offer for everyone online?
Absolutely, Mark, and thank you so much for all that insight. That's tons and tons of valuable tips. We got lots of questions coming in, so we'll be sure to get to those. While you guys are listening to our Q&A, we've got a special offer for everybody who's on the line today. Mark talked a lot about these new changes, and it can seem overwhelming to keep up. WordStream does offer a software platform that's really great at keeping your accounts up to date and as optimized as possible. So if you would be interested in talking to someone else from the WordStream team on how we can help make these changes kind of seamless in your account, you can go ahead and choose one of those options. If you'd like to connect with one of our certified consultants on staff, or maybe you're all set and you don't need any advice with online advertising. So go ahead and choose which one of those applies to you. And while doing that, let's get to some questions. All right, I'm going to try to take these in order as they came in. So one question that came in, Mark, had to do with the testing. Okay, so testing's super important. Definitely want to get some multiple ETAs going. How do you recommend doing this? Do you recommend testing same copy with 3 different headlines, or 3 of the same headlines with different copy? What's your best strategy?
So what I'd recommend is, obviously when you see these ads, the biggest thing that you're going to see in these ads is going to be the headlines. People are going to read the headlines first, and it's very possible that, particularly on smaller screens, you might see some of the copy cut off below the fold or hit up with a line break or something like that. I would spend most of your time focused on testing the different headlines, given the fact that that's the first thing people are going to read. That's going to be their first impression. Whether or not people actually read the copy is, as much your guess as it is mine. But the biggest changes that I see are typically in the headline. So I'd want to focus on that mostly. I I do believe that if you're looking for large changes in your ads performance, you are going to need to make larger changes to your ads. So that this shouldn't be necessarily, you are welcome to test small individual word changes, but I wouldn't necessarily expect small changes to produce large results. That this is a high risk, high reward kind of situation. That definitely what I'd say is that as you're testing like 2 or 3 new ads, maybe have 2 of them very similar to one another and have a third kind of be an outlier and see exactly how that rebel does against its peers. That might help you come to better decisions quickly.
Awesome. Next question. We had a lot of excitement about the shopping showcase ads.
Awesome.
So one question that came in was, when can we start using them?
Sure. You can start using them today, provided that you have access to the new AdWords UI. So right now, it's only available in the new AdWords UI, just like promotion extensions. Effectively, what you need to do, if you have access to that, is you need to go into your shopping campaigns, and you actually need to create a new ad group to use this new ad type. That the ad group has a type of whether or not you're using the product ads or the shopping showcase ads. If you create the ad group with the shopping showcase ads, then the only type of ad you're going to be able to create in that ad group is the shopping showcase ads. I definitely check out, there's a how-to resource that I wrote on the WordStream blog. So head back to the blog. I believe it's from last week when I first discovered them. It's available to anyone within the new AdWords UI. I know that's not everyone today, but keep an eye out for the new AdWords UI that's rolling out to advertisers fairly rapidly now.
Awesome. One more question regarding those shopping showcase ads.
Okay.
So first click free, is that right?
Yeah, so I kind of didn't believe it either. No, but the first click is 100% free. So when you do that search for summer dresses is the example that they use, you're going to see like Macy's has a shopping showcase ad, and you're going to click on that ad, and it's going to expand into a larger catalog of different dresses. That first click is free. So you pay nothing if people don't come to your website, click on that individual dress and want to look at that individual dress. So this is really great, particularly if you have a diverse product line, or you've got multiple sizes of a product, and you want to kind of give people a couple of additional seconds to look over everything else you buy before you just send them to an individual product.
Very cool. So highly recommend people try this, Mark?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, particularly as you talk about back to school and the holidays and everything that's coming up, you're going to have a whole lot of people who are searching for those top of the funnel searches for back to school supplies, college supplies, dorm room supplies, Christmas shopping. I'm going to be super honest. I have to buy a gift for my mom at the end of the month, and I know nothing about buying dresses or buying jewelry or that kind of stuff. And I'm going to start off with a lot of searches that aren't product specific, that I'm going to be kind of, going to Google to do some exploratory shopping. And this is going to help me find those individual products as well as kind of understand what the market looks like. And for advertisers, you're not going to pay for me to click on your ads until I really fully understand, okay, these are all the products this provider has, and here are their price points. So it's kind of a win-win across the board for advertisers.
Awesome, really cool feature. This question that came in, it has to do with that demographic targeting again.
Okay.
So does Google have any ways that you can block certain demographics? So maybe based on their age or whatever that may be?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can, just in the same way that you can exclusively target my ads, like I mentioned, I exclusively serve my ads to men versus women. I could just simply do the opposite. If I thought that only men were going to buy flowers for Valentine's Day, I could have excluded women from seeing my ads altogether. So I can go in, I can exclude a demographic based off of gender, based off of age, based off of household income, based off of parental status. So I have the option to target an audience exclusively or exclude an audience altogether. Or alternatively, I could bid up or down for a particular audience. So if I thought that men were more likely to buy flowers from me, I might bid up for that audience, but I'd still serve ads to women. So there's a lot of different strategic approaches we can have depending on exactly what kind of products we're selling.
Awesome. This question came in and it was regarding voice search. So, you know, it's one of those things, you said it yourself, it's a recent thing. 2 years ago, it wouldn't have even been a slide on this webinar, but now it's something very important to pay attention to. Is voice search, although it's new, is it really mostly being done from mobile or the other devices? What's kind of like the current status of that?
Sure. So it's actually pretty interesting. A lot of people, obviously mobile is driving a lot of it. That is true. But you're also seeing a lot of cross-device activity happen with voice search. So particularly think of things without a screen. Think of things that Google couldn't necessarily serve you a SERP on today. If you ask your Google Home for directions to a store or searching for a product, it will tell you this stuff, but it will also send you the SERP to your desktop computer or to your tablet device if that's the one you have linked with your Google account. So you'll see a lot of people, you know, begin a search on voice search, and then that search results populate on a different device. Very similarly, in the Chromebook, in Apple, the MacBook Pro has Siri in it. That's all Apple devices now have Siri in it, including Windows devices have Cortana in the search bar. And that you're still seeing, you know, Windows, for instance, said that 25% of searches that come through Cortana on the desktop search bar are voice searches. So this is one of those things that it's not exclusively mobile, that we're seeing this across desktop as well as Bing is very much powered by voice search, that Siri defaults to Bing, and Cortana is obviously a Windows device, a Windows product, and defaults to Bing. Alexa, Amazon's devices all use Bing. That voice search is quickly growing, and it's growing in kind of in surprising places that you wouldn't have necessarily expected this. But this is not necessarily just people clicking the home button on their iPhone and talking into this anymore, that this is, a lot of it is being driven by a number of devices that we wouldn't have considered 3 years ago.
Very interesting stuff. This question here, we've got time for just about 2 more. So one of those, this person's just still a little bit confused about the new UI. I know that you said that they can reference your blog post, and there's some links in there for some more information, but just super quick, can you just recap that again, how to get access to that new UI for Google?
Sure. So Google is rolling that out fairly quickly to advertisers. Right now, about 1 out of 4 advertisers have access to that. And if you have access to it, then when you log into AdWords, in the bottom right corner, you're going to see this little blue bar that says, try the new AdWords experience. Click on that, that will take you to the new UI. From the new UI, you can, of course, go back to the old UI if you're not in love with it. So right now, that's available to about 1/4 of all advertisers. There's not an easy way to necessarily opt into it, but I just say, you know, keep a lookout for that in the bottom hand of your AdWords as you log into it. Every week, I'm seeing advertisers added into that or get access to that. So this is something that's currently being rolled out, and it's happening fairly quickly too.
Awesome. Okay, and one last question. So you talked a little bit about that difference between mobile and desktop, so the difference between tap and click in your ads. This person says, that sounds really great. Or is this something that you definitely recommend doing? Like, you see really, really great results from it? This person's just a little concerned that it seems like a bit of effort.
So it's absolutely a bit of effort, is what I'll say. Just like writing any other kind of ad, that here we're specifically effectively writing 2 ads within one, that I'm catering a completely different message to my mobile searches versus my desktop searches. I think that what might be more helpful, if you're currently on the fence about it, you're likely on the fence because you're not thinking of a drastically different mobile ad than you are a desktop ad. And I'll admit that people who are just changing words for the sake of changing words with this aren't seeing a whole lot of improvement. Where people are seeing a lot of improvement are people who are trying a new call to action or a new offer for their mobile searchers. So for instance, I have a car insurance client, and what they're doing is in their mobile ads, they're driving people to call or promote the fact that you can get a quote directly on your phone or on the go, whereas the desktop ads are providing their more standard get a quote now language. And so it's one of those things that if you can provide a different message and a different call to action with that, absolutely it's worth doing. But if you're just going to change an individual word and you've got reservations about the effort for that, then I'm going to agree with you that small changes here are going to make small differences. And if that's a lot of work for you to change that, then maybe now is not the time to look at that.
Awesome, great. Well, Mark, as always, thanks so much for all of your insight. That session was packed with information, and like I said at the start of today's webinar, you all will be receiving an emailed recording of today's webinar as long as the slide deck, so be sure to share those along. And also, like we talked about a little bit, WordStream's got tons of resources, our blogs, our free tools, our AdWords Performance Grader. Make sure you run that, see how your ads are performing today, and definitely stay tuned for the latest and greatest coming out of WordStream. Thank you all for joining, and huge thank you to Mark for sharing all of his amazing insight with us today.
Well, thank you for having me, and thanks everyone for sticking around.
Awesome. Bye all.
Bye.